Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to At the Inn of the World's End. I am Matt, here as always with Sebastian and Mike. What's going on, boys?
Hello.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Or
Some sad news today.
as
One of my favorite
as a
actors of
dude
all
I know
time,
says, what do you want to talk about?
right? One of my favorite actors of all time passed away yesterday morning.
Yeah.
And it actually, so Carl Weathers was Apollo Creed, and he was, in lots of movies when we were kids. So
Dylan.
Predator, he was
Dylan
Dylan,
getting the chopper.
right? And he just, I don't know, for me anyway, he filled my childhood with just awesomeness from, Rockies 1 to 4, and then all the other stuff. Yeah, and he was in Happy Gilmore. I can't remember his name in Happy Gilmore, but he was in Happy Gilmore.
Chubbs.
That's right.
There you go.
Chubbs.
Yeah. So,
Yep,
and then of course he was Grief Karga in The Mandalorian most recently, and he was
that's correct.
the best part in my mind. One of the best parts of Mando was Carl Weathers. But yeah, I don't know. Big piece of my childhood's gone. It's just.
Did either of you see Arrested Development?
I never watched Arrested Development.
He played himself in Arrested Development, an exaggerated version, and it was fantastic.
Oh my god! I should.
It was. He had a running gag because he was like sort of a down on his luck sort of actor. I guess they were kind of playing on the fact that he wasn't doing a whole lot of parts.
Yeah, right.
And if somebody was throwing out a plate of food or a scrap or just not quite finished with something, he was like, no, you add that to the pot, little boil and water, little carrots, you got a stew going. And it was fantastic.
That's awesome.
It really was. He was a highlight. He wasn't in every episode. He was in enough, and he had his bit, and it was fantastic. Like, it was really a highlight. It's like, Carl Weathers, what the fuck are you doing here?
Right.
I mean, honestly, that show, not just the Bluth family, but the amount of reoccurring big name stars, Martin Short, Liza Minnelli, Carl Weathers, it was highly recommend. Go find that show, watch it. You'll really enjoy the Carl Weathers stuff. I mean, of course, that iconic Dylan, you son of a bitch.
That's right. The handshake and the greasy muscles for no apparent reason.
He was pretty freaking ripped, man. Like, he could go toe to toe with Arnold back in the day. Well, maybe not quite, but he was in some good shape in the 80s there when he did Rocky and Predator, obviously. So yeah,
Apollo one of the greatest scenes in cinema history is him and Rocky running down the beach, and Rocky finally beats him, and they do the real manly hug in the water with their halter tops and high socks and short shorts,
and Hooters shorts.
Yeah, I have a poster of that somewhere. No, just kidding.
Yeah. That's right. It's just
no, Seb, don't get that one out. I've seen that one. It looks like a painter's radio. Let's just move past that.
Yeah, he was
whatever you need to do. Don't get me wrong. Just we don't need to see it.
He was
76, and according to you guys, because I haven't really deep dived it, but he died peacefully in sleep.
Yeah, that's what I read yesterday. That's what popped up on my phone. And no, he aged really well. He didn't look like an old man. So he, even the commercial, the FanDuel commercial he just did with Rob Gronkowski. So I guess we're going to see that on the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, the Destiny of Kick 2.
The Destiny, the Kick of Destiny or whatever it's called. So we'll have to get to see Carl one more time. And sad news. It kind of just ruined my day yesterday.
Yeah, it really. I didn't have the greatest back to work week. Both days. Well, yesterday wasn't as bad, but that definitely put a harsh tone to it. I don't know. And they were just gearing up to start filming the Mandalorian movie. Apparently, is how they're gonna wrap that particular portion of the saga up.
Well, they're putting, I think, with the Mando movie. We don't really have to get into it, but I think they're combining everything, like the Rebels portion. Boba, all the shows are being wrapped into one.
Interesting.
One bow.
One shitty bow. I'm gonna hazard to say.
Why?
It's Disney. It's this did. Don't get me started.
Star Wars. You know what? We're gonna have to get into this down the road when we have, and I don't want to dig into too much of it because watching too many trailers and stuff really spoils movies. But I have a feeling I know where they're going with that, and it could get very interesting. So
I hope so.
So rest in peace, Carl Weathers. Thank you for all the memories. Swig of coffee for the working man and all that.
There you go.
Hey, Mike, you like horror movies, right?
I do.
Have you seen the trailer for the new horror movie Longlegs?
Oh God, no, I have not.
It looks good, man.
Really?
And it's a Nick Cage movie as well. He's in it, but I have not seen him in a single of the 4 trailers. Just to give you,
that's amazing. Why don't you pull it up and we'll watch it so Matt can get a nice reaction too, because Matt loves horror and Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I'll find it. Well, he's not in the trailer, so it's
two of my favorite things right there. And Mike, we were talking about disaster movies today.
Yes.
And you suggested that I go and look up the cast of, what was it, Atomic Twister. And the second you said that, I'm like, I know exactly who's going to be in the lead role here. If they're telling me to go look up the cast, I'm getting fished into another Nick Cage thing. No, it was not. It was not. That was Sharon Lawrence and Mark Paul Gosselaar. If you don't recognize that name, he was Zach Morris for us in our childhood. Yeah. And Olympian Carl Lewis.
Yep. I forgot Carl Lewis was in it. Oh my God.
Those were the top 3 listed. And I was like, what is he sending me to watch? But I'm more likely to watch this than any Nick Cage movie you recommend.
So we do this sometimes at home. I sort of start scrolling, especially on Prime, because if you're searching through Prime, you can really go down to rabbit holes. You search up one thing, wonder what they're going to suggest, and you just keep going and funneling down this, rabbit hole of these really bad movies. And then I found Atomic Twister, and I'm like, it's got Zach Morris. So we actually watched it. Watched the whole thing. The effects are on par. They're on par with Moonfall's disaster shit.
We'll get into that.
I know. Oh, yes, we will. But the movie wasn't terrible. Sharon Lawrence was awesome, and Zach Morris being like grown up and stuff, and it was just, I don't know, it was just fun. And obviously, it's Atomic Twister. It's purely fake bullshit, but it was just pretty fun. It was no Sharknado, but it was higher than B movie. It was just sort of on the cusp.
On the scale of Sharknado, it's a B+ movie. Velocipaster. Where is it sitting?
Oh
God! Oh my God! I think it's a cut above both.
Wasn't Velocipaster made for like $11,000 or something like that?
If you told me it was made for $11, I'd believe you.
They tried. I think there was a real effort. Like Velocipaster, there was zero effort. Right? There was.
I think they knew what they had in that movie and just said, "Fuck it, let's just go."
Yeah.
All right. So, Seb, you got your clip queued up. Let's have a look at that. And just a reminder, as I see our numbers starting to swell, feel free to jump in the comments on whatever platform you're using. Join the conversation with us. We're going to check out this movie, and we're going to come back with Mike's first disaster film.
Yeah. So this is the long trailer. There's 3 other trailers that are 30 seconds, but none of the trailers give anything away. It's just the mood. And then this is the tagline. You've got the teeth of the Hydra upon you. Okay, so here we go.
I can't wait. This is gonna be awesome. Nice car. There you go. Our childhood wrapped up in a bow.
Mm-hmm.
Love the ominous
background
noise.
Circles of hell. She's opening that. That's never a good idea.
We got to cross. We're drawing triangles. That's not good.
Okay, I like what's going on the screen here.
Yeah.
How they're overlaying really cool. the glyphs.
Yeah. She looks familiar. All right then. Oh, I'm so in.
And that's all you get. That is all you get. That's how you do a trailer, boys.
That is how you, because I'll bet you the movie is a giant pile of shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But that trailer made it look like is something in the vein of Hereditary. Like,
the music for me does it too. Like music.
It had some good creep factor.
And as I was just saying about, the Mando movie, too many spoilers and too many trailers in spoilers in trailers really ruins movies.
Yes.
take it from somebody that had to watch them for a living. It sucks a lot of enjoyment out. So if you really want to enjoy a film, stop watching the trailers if you know you're going to go see it. I watch maybe a trailer for a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie. I'm like, I'm gonna go see it anyways. And that's about it. Like, I'll watch one trailer and I try to avoid all the behind the scenes nonsense of these big things leading up. And not only was that fairly short for a trailer, about a minute and a half. I mean, I guess average, but tells you nothing.
It doesn't
tell you nothing.
Yeah. No hints.
That's how you know it's probably going to be a good movie, is because if trailers need to give you the best scenes in the trailer to entice you to come see it, then it's probably not a good movie. But
yeah, and you see
a trailer's supposed to be a feeling and a mood of the movie, to give you a glimpse of what you're in for, but without giving the story away. I believe, right? If you give too much of the story away in the trailer, that usually means your movie sucks.
Yeah. No, you're dead on. Like, even teaser trailers should be good enough for some, but you see it a lot with the blockbuster stuff, and especially when you're dealing with these big budget, they need a high return sort of thing. Fast and the Furious will put out 8 or 10 trailers, and you'll see it. It's going to start in a couple weeks, boys. The big trailers start in a couple weeks.
2 weeks to be exact.
There you go.
Week tomorrow. 8 days. Because you're going to get a whole bunch of trailers on Super Bowl Sunday. So,
and you know what? I cannot wait to spend my Sunday afternoon playing Red Dead.
There you go. I knew you were going to not watch the Super Bowl.
I'm going to watch it, but I don't give a shit who wins. I think we talked about this last week. I think Mahomes is going to cement himself as the next GOAT. He'd be GOAT Simulator 2, I guess you want to call it.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess we got a couple of games left this weekend, yeah?
No.
Nope.
We're on break. This is the break week.
The Super of the Bowl is the only game left.
Can we talk just for a quick seconds about the huge Canucks trade?
Yeah, I think it's good.
Sure.
Do you they gave up a lot.
But that's what they wanted. They wanted a top 6, so they knew they were going to have to give up a lot.
He's quite a centerman, though. Hey.
And Kuzmenko wanted out, and there's that. And I heard he was trouble in the locker room too. He was just bit of a
was he banging rookies' moms?
No, that's
or is that somebody else?
He had 39 goals last year, and he has 8 goals this season. So it just gives you a sense of how much he's dropped. The only problem of the trade is I hate losing Hunter Bushkevich, because he was on fire in the AHL. He was top 2 in scoring as a defenseman.
Oh wow.
He was in the top 3, yeah. And then the first round pick overall, or the first round pick, kind of doesn't really mean anything, because you got to look at the fact that the Canucks are probably going to make a deep run in the playoffs.
Well, they're not going to be in the lottery, so whatever, right?
Yeah, so that pick is going to be 25 plus. It's not going to be a top.
It'll probably be closer to near 30, I would think, the way they're playing.
Yeah,
they're that good. They're going to be in the top 2 or 3 in the league.
Yeah,
so but a bottom first round pick is meh.
All I just want to say about the trade is that Patrick Allvin has definitely told his players, "I believe in you, and we're going for it." With that trade, and now you have 3 solid centers that can all play first line.
Yep.
Right. You can kind of just mix and match your 3 centers for however you see fit. Right. So you have 2 phenomenal lines that can score now. Basically 6 forwards that are elite level forwards. So
yeah,
and the Canucks have 5 people representing the team in the All-Star game this weekend, which is I believe is tonight. So
that probably hasn't happened in a while.
Well, you're required to have 1 from each team, which is every team has to have 1 player. The Canucks have 5, so just shows you how well they're playing. But
of course, my man McDavid won the skills competition because he is.
Dude, he won so many categories, man.
He won everything but
one. Skater,
crazy
passer, or not passer. Patterson won the passer, but accuracy. I think he won.
He won
stick handling. I think he won.
Yeah, the deking, the warrior to deke out the goalie.
Christ,
I know he's so good. He won $1 million US too. That's crazy.
And you probably didn't even look like he was trying. It was kind of just okay, I'll just.
Well, he's out having a good time, right? Wearing his toque, rocking it. But
yeah. Anyways, I have mixed feelings about it, but now it's just like, okay, this is starting to feel like this is the time the Canucks might win a Stanley Cup.
So. I think if they don't win the cup, well, they have a lot of work to do in the summer because they got a lot of free agents. Lindholm's one of them, so
they have to re-sign so many people.
I know, right? So it's going to be tough. Like they're not. I don't think everybody can. I'm not sure how the NHL the cap's so low. I don't understand how they can get it all done. But hey, that's why Alvin makes the big bucks, right? To figure it out.
Well, they're not going to re-sign their backup goalie, DeSmith. Like they'll bring a guy up from from the farm team for that. So
Demko's in there for the next 10 years. That's just.
Anyways, it's a very, very, very exciting time to be a Vancouver Canucks fan.
This isn't the Canucks of our yesteryear of where they're cheap and they're just we're good with what we got. No,
but the difference between this team and the 2010 team, because the 2010 team had a lot of skill. It was the best team in the league. But
they were too skilled. They had no toughness.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think this team here, they have grit and toughness, and they can fight back, right? Like they have two behemoths on the defensive line that are like 7 foot on skates almost.
Yeah, well, Tyler Myers, he's huge.
Yeah, and their top 6 forwards minus Elias Pettersson are. I mean, he can still bang too, but like they're not easy people to push off the puck. No. Like they're gonna fight
140 pounds soaking wet, but that's okay.
Dude, he has a hard shot. He has a sneaky hard shot, man. Yep. Sneaky hard shot.
Skills, man. Skills.
Anyways, the world is coming to an end, so we should.
Well, it will if the Canucks lose the playoffs. So I'm encouraging all of you Canucks fans to eat. Gasoline is expensive. Just don't waste it on.
Dude, what a segue.
Second place in the league, please. Right. Yeah. All right. Mike, disaster movies. If
you want to see a trailer,
plan, you've been involved. Do we want to see a trailer? We always want to see a trailer.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's see what Mike's talking about.
Which trailer are we gonna watch? Yeah, there we go.
Oh God.
History.
This is like the guiltiest pleasure of all guilty pleasure movies.
Unpredictable.
So awesome.
Violent. It terrifies most scientists. But for a new breed, the challenge is saving lives.
And who doesn't love Bill Paxton, man? Come on.
Deadly.
I mean, fair enough.
Who doesn't love flying cows?
Nature is.
Well, that too.
I was a big Helen Hunt fan for a while.
Yeah, she's awesome in this movie.
Yeah, she's fresh off of TV too, right?
Yes. I think she was still on Mad About You at this point.
Yes, Mad About You was still going.
Young Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Everybody underground now! Come on!
But unlike Atomic Twister, this movie was made with like quality and care and the touch of real professionals.
Come on, all right. Let's go, everybody down.
And the effects hold up. Like this was almost 30 years ago.
Yeah, there's pretty cutting edge at the time.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty sick.
Well, of course, it has Steven Spielberg, as a producer. It kind of helps. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, the sequel's coming out this year, is it not? The remaster, the re-envision.
Hey. Oh, no cow. So yeah, directed by Jan de Bont. He's done lots of good stuff over the years. Yeah, Twister. Did you guys see Twister in the theater back in the day?
I also saw it in the theater. Yeah,
well, we probably all did together. I can imagine.
I did not. I didn't see that till it came out on home video. I don't know if it was the fact that it was overhyped a lot to me.
It was way
or if the movie was just as bad as I think it is. I was quite disappointed in the whole thing. I mean, it could just be one of those things where there was a lot of hype surrounding it.
Yeah.
And everybody said how good it was, and I just got overexcited for it. I mean, it's in the same line of watching too many trailers and reading too many behind the scenes things. you have an expectation that's way up high that can't be met.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
That's a hell of a disaster film. Because I mean, we see a lot of tornadoes as plot devices for why somebody's emotionally drained and starts doing these certain things. They've been through trauma. Tornadoes are fairly common down through the southern and Midwest of the U.S.
Absolutely.
Even up into Alberta and the prairies up here, we get some. Not as many as they do, which is weird because we got a lot of trailer parks in there too.
There was
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, finish your thought.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's a relatively I guess it's common enough that enough people are like, oh, yep, been through there, or we see it often enough that it's relatable, I guess is the word I've been struggling to have my coffee released from my brain.
Yeah. And even for me, when I was a young person, storm chasing was real sexy to me. Like, I thought it was really cool. Like, you see all the reporters and stuff, like, right, okay, there's a tornado, 2 miles away, or the hurricane. That guy is like, okay, blah, blah, blah. And then, everything's blowing around him. And I'm like, man, that would be a real cool job. So when this came out, I was like, man, I should seriously want to be a storm chaser. That'd be cool. And then you grow up and realize that's probably not a cool thing to do because chances of getting killed are pretty good. But I don't know, Twister for me, like, if it's on, because it's on TV all the time, like, it's like AMC plays it like every weekend, and if I notice it's on, I will turn it on. I won't watch the whole thing, but I'll sit there for a time till commercial break. I'm like, man, I love Bill Paxton. He was one of my favorite actors. He just was everything from Weird Science and everything he did in between. I just love old Bill.
And you know what? He's the only guy to fight an alien, a Terminator, and a Predator on screen.
Right. See? There you go. He's the man.
And he turned into
he didn't survive any of them, but
no, that's okay. And then of course, but whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course with his career, he went from fighting those 3 aliens to doing something even more dangerous, having 3 wives.
Yes.
On Big Love, which was a fascinating show, but we won't get into that.
No, we don't need to be getting into that.
All right, Sebastian.
Well, I just want to talk.
What are your thoughts here?
So there has been Twister's about an F5 tornado, which is for a lot of us, it's the first time we saw maximum destructive tornado on screen. There has been, according to Wiki, there's been 67 F5 tornadoes in the history of the world.
Really?
So the category of an F5 tornado, to classify it as an F5, it has to have winds over 200 miles an hour. So just think about how much that would rip the shit out of you. So
everything, that is fast.
Yeah. So
wow.
I think there's only been 2 in Canada, and like most of them are in the States. I don't know why the States is just like a tornado country, but
I think it's something to do with the warmer climate.
Yeah, it's like Oklahoma and stuff like that. I think it's like there's mountains off to either side, and then they just get the coastal breeze whipping in, and it's a recipe for great storms.
Yeah, just to give you an idea of how rare an F5 tornado is, every year there's approximately slightly over 2,000 tornadoes recorded in the world. And there's only been 67 F5 tornadoes in the history of recording tornadoes, and that goes back to the 1700s apparently. So
pretty rare. But if anyone's gonna find one, it's our man Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt. They're gonna find it, right?
It's lucky for them they did, or that movie would have sucked.
So when we're talking about disaster movies, it's really easy just to show a movie with like a huge bit of disaster, right? But I think what works with Twister is that she does have like a good story behind her character.
Yes.
Helen Hunt, I think her name was Jo in the movie.
It was Jo, yeah.
Yeah. So, with her parents, spoiler, but I mean, it was out in 96.
Don't do it.
Okay. Well, there's an incident that happened with her as a kid, and it caused her to have trauma, but also like fuel for her line of work to be a storm chaser. And so It's almost like she looks as the tornadoes as villains and wants to like battle them throughout the movie, so to speak. And she becomes
wanted
kind of
to
a reckless person. But
develop a technology to be able to give people
advanced
more warning.
Yeah.
More warning, right? Because the warning now is just like the alarm goes off and it's like, okay, the tornado's over top of your house.
But it's really it really makes sense in her character because she becomes so obsessed with finding a solution for this that she puts herself and her team constantly in danger because she just wants to get closer and closer and closer, and she's really threading that line of like, you're getting too dangerously close to it. So but yeah, it's when you see the F5 tornado come in and how much destruction it can just wreak on homes and stuff. It was awe-inspiring when you watch it. You're like, holy shit. Yeah. And it's rooted in realism, right? Like it's like, so a lot of disaster films that we're going to talk about are like, this would never happen in a million years, but this is like, this happens.
Moonfall's not going to happen. Come on.
We'll get there.
We'll talk about the video as well later on.
Good point. And it sort of mirrors what I was saying earlier. We have yearly, we get records of what a tornado will do. Right. And so that really leaned into the reality base of this movie. I mean, sure, we get earthquakes and we get forest fires and we get a bunch of other stuff, but it's the scale on which a disaster movie earthquake hits. Very few of those have hit in our lifetime. There have been a couple that are just awful. Yeah. And we've seen what happens when, a hurricane breaks a levee and, New Orleans sank for, lack of a better term. Too. So, but it's stuff like that. It's disasters on that scale that we have within recent memory really lean into it. And I recently found out, and I believe we covered this a couple weeks ago, they're remaking this thing.
I know.
Yeah, I know. Twister 2.
It hurt. Yeah, is it a sequel or is it like a remake?
It's a remake. It's not like a sequel. It's a reimagination, I think.
Oh no!
Okay. Do you know what the characters' last names were?
Well, Bill Paxton was William Harding. That's interesting.
That's correct, Bill Harding.
And I don't remember Joe's last name.
Yeah. That's yeah.
Is Sarah talking about Moonfall or is she talking about Twister?
Definitely talking about Twister. Definitely talking about Moonfall.
I love Twister. It's one of my. It's like in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I love it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's comfortable. I enjoy. It's just comfortable to me. I just like watching it. It's just I don't know.
Twister 2.
Yeah.
Twister 2. I don't even.
Oh, it's called Twisters. It's not called Twister 2.
Oh, so they've added the S to it. They went, and that's very rare. We saw it in Aliens.
Yeah.
As a sequel. So
we're gonna have 2 F5s. I bet you we'll have at least 2 F5s this time.
Yeah, they're gonna like cross into each other.
It's gonna make an F10. That's what it's
gonna be. The first F6.
The first F6 ever known.
And Sarah's out here just ruining my respect for her. Yes, it's a go-to for her. Sorry, couldn't resist. I will hear about that later. All right, Seb, what do you got on your list for us, buddy?
Okay, so this is an obvious, but maybe not an obvious one because technically it is a disaster movie if you actually think about it, but it's probably the highest grossing disaster movie of all time. So I have to put it out there. Titanic. Love it or hate it, at its core, it is a very good movie. Like it is a
it's absolutely brilliant. Just the story between
it's a very good movie. Yeah,
Jack and what's her name? The love story, and then you get the story of the boat. Like you get two.
It's very cleverly done, right? It's like, and that's what I was saying with the Helen Hunt character, Joe. It's like you pair a really good story of love and romance and forbidden love. It's almost a Romeo and Juliet story on the Titanic, and
absolutely,
it's kind of like a home run recipe, right? Because you know what's going to happen.
Yep.
You know that most people don't survive, but you don't know when you're watching it, are they going to survive or not? So I think because it was centered around the Titanic, you kind of have the end game fear of the boat's going to sink. So there's like that feeling of like, what's going to happen because there's disaster coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Yep. So and I don't know, also Bill Paxton's in the movie. Right. He's the guy at the beginning Bill, with right? So there's a trend here. Bill Paxton, I think, is like Mr. Disaster movie.
Oh, sad.
Yeah,
I know.
So sorry. Yeah, come on.
So sorry about that. So,
wait for the sequel of Titanic that's coming out in 2026.
Titanic. That would be funny. But yeah, so a lot of people, when it was initially came out, thought that was a real person. Rose Dawson, I believe. Like they thought it was like an actual story from the Titanic. Obviously, it's not. So I guess that would have been James Cameron's most successful film to date.
I think Avatar is a.
It's got to be. I mean,
Avatar came out after.
Yeah, yeah. At the time, absolutely was, because I mean, it was setting box office records left, right, and center. I was working in the record store, and that fucking song.
I think my wife saw that movie in the theater 11. I think it was 11 times. She said. I think. Yeah.
Dude, I remember people just going to it one after another. They just kept chain going to that movie. It was. You can't deny the impact it had on cinema at the time. Mm-hmm. Like it was. Mm-hmm. Everybody was like, "This is the best movie ever." I didn't think it. Like, I mean, it was a great movie, but it's at the time I wasn't really in. I was a kid, kind of like it was 96. I think it came out.
Yeah.
So, back then we're like, romance movies. Give me Terminator.
Yeah, right. I didn't see it for years.
Good for you. Good for you.
Years. It was one of those ones, I Sarah's questioning your kid comment. Because boys don't mature very fast.
Okay, well, I was a middle-aged teenager.
We're still children, really.
We were elder teenagers. We weren't quite 19 when this came out. I mean, you guys were right on the cusp. I was a little further down the year. But yeah, it was years and years and years, to the point where I had no interest in seeing it. I was one of the, you run into one of those 3 people in the world that hasn't seen Star Wars or Game of Thrones or something like that. It's like,
what are you doing?
Fuck that shit. And you can't imagine why. That was Titanic for me, to the point where my kid's mom was, Sarah's doing math. Sarah, we don't do math around here.
No math. No.
I was not 20 at the time.
Yeah, not quite.
We were.
It came out in 97, right?
We were exactly 20.
So we're a little later in the year.
Damn it.
At any rate, it was one of my kids' mom's favorite movies, and I was just like, I'm not doing this. And she's like, what will it take? And I'm like, you're gonna have to do some work under the hood during the movie for this. Per tape. She called my bluff. So I have seen Titanic.
It gave us some super iconic scenes, right?
Oh, absolutely did.
There's the in the water scene, which I won't spoil. There's the on the bow scene.
And you know what? People still do
the draw me scene
on a daily. I just got off a cruise ship. I saw people doing it, and I'm like,
see, there you go.
If I was on a cruise ship, that's the first thing I would do. Is I would get up there and God do it.
But you can't get right to the tip of the bow, but I mean, you can get close enough up on the deck 14 sun deck, and it's like, okay, guys, like shit.
I have to.
So I mean, it is iconic. I mean, draw me like one of your French girls.
It's like the Rocky statue. If you go to Philly, you have to go to the Rocky statue.
You have to do the boat thing on any boat. But I have to say though, like, I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio was at that time, he was somewhat established as an actor, but this kind of pole vaulted him into like superstardom. Same with Kate Winslet. Like, and their chemistry was really good in that movie. Also, I have to highlight how good of a villain Billy Zane was in that movie. Like, you despise that man.
Yes,
like everything that he did was out of sheer jealousy, and because he's like, I own her, she is mine, you can't have her, but she doesn't want to be with you, dude. Like, it's just. And then I don't know if you guys remember,
but at the same time, it's a boat romance. They weren't going anywhere. It's not a love story. He was just trying to get laid, and he managed to do it in the middle of the ocean in a car.
Sure, at first, but they fell in love, and it was like,
I call bullshit.
Well,
I think they'd hit the dog, and he'd be like, "Look, I gotta go see a guy about a thing. I gotta go.
I mean, over here. You
so Leo DiCaprio would do that, but Jack Dawson wouldn't do that.
Like, yes.
Well, yeah.
Just kidding, Leo. I love you. Don't cancel me. It won 11 Academy Awards. Just to give you, so it won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Art Direction, Best Cinematography, Best Costume, Best Film Editing, Song, Sound, and all the kind of other stuff. But Kate Winslet was nominated for Best Actress. She didn't win, and then Gloria Stewart was also nominated for Best Supporting Actress.
I think Leo should have been nominated. I think Leo got wrong
for that as well.
Yeah. Well, she didn't write the song, so.
But the song won a Grammy.
Yes, Best Original Song. Yeah. James Horner and Will Jennings wrote "My Heart Will Go On." So, yeah, she did. They did win. They did win for that song, which was pretty iconic. That's a good question.
Sarah wants to know who did win Best Actress that year.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, we will talk amongst ourselves.
Was it,
so, I mean, Titanic was one of those ones. We've discussed this problem before on the show, where it was the rare film that broke that 2-hour, 20-minute mark. So when it did get to home release, it had to be on 2 tapes.
Hell yeah, it did.
Which
I've got it somewhere. on.
I remember that.
It's a built-in intermission. It's a 3-hour movie. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people will go on about, oh no, movies can do this, that, and the other thing. Now I'm like, yeah, that's great. I don't need to sit there for 3 hours.
Let's play the guessing game with the Oscars. Have don't just spurt it out.
Oh, I'm at the wrong one because I guess it would have been 98.
98, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, you'd have to look up the 98 Oscars.
Because I looked at 97, I'm like, that's not right, because Best Picture was The English Patient in that year.
my you want to hear my guess? I don't have him. It's Paltrow for Shakespeare in Love. That's my guess.
Hold on.
Oh, solid guess.
Because that movie, I remember it was pretty big back in the day, and it seemed to win everything for. I don't know. I never watched it, but
for some reason, I want to say Uma Thurman for something, but I can't remember what she was nominated for.
We just talked about her.
Helen Hunt?
Yes.
Oh, really?
As Good as It Gets.
Yeah. That was a solid movie.
That was a great disaster movie.
And Jack Nicholson won Best Actor for As Good as It Gets.
As Good as It Gets.
Guess who won Best Supporting Actor?
Oh, that would have been
Bill Paxton.
No, it's the other guy for As Good as It Gets.
It's not As Good as It Gets.
Oh,
but he was nominated. Greg Kinnear was nominated. But
thank you.
It was Robin Williams, Good Will Hunting.
Oh, there we go.
He's brilliant in that too.
Yeah. So
how do you like them apples?
That's the best. How do you like them apples?
Yeah, that's the only.
Do you like apples?
Yeah.
But yeah,
I got a number. How do you like them? Yeah.
Titanic, great film. If you haven't seen it, why are you living under a rock?
Yeah. James Cameron's last good movie.
I was waiting for personal service. That's how I did it. So maybe somebody else is. All right. So I started watching the first one I want to talk about. I saw it in the theater. I had a second date with a lady friend. We went and saw that, and I had to admit that I may have made a mistake in choosing the movie. However, we didn't have a whole lot of choice. This one, we went and saw it the night of the midnight release for one of the Harry Potter movies. So it was cosplay central around the multiplex.
All right.
And we were like, cool. Unfortunately, it was also a little more packed than I anticipated. So that derailed a couple of plans. And I started watching this yesterday on Prime. I didn't get all the way through it because we had some other plans that I had to, I took a nap basically. And then other plans popped up. 2012. John Cusack.
And Amanda Peet, right? She's in that.
Woo. Yeah.
Good movie.
I mean,
it's terrible.
It was one of those ones where it looked good. And there's a lot of pretty stunning scenes as tsunamis are popping up. A lot of pretty stunning scenes as California starts falling into the sea. And even the end where the final tsunami sort of pushes the arcs out. Spoilers. It's
on the beach.
and it was, and then there's scenes where they're clearly doing green screen on a budget, where it's just like it just sucked you right out of the moment. Best line from 2012. I'm gonna let you take this one, Sarah, because I was watching it yesterday, going, "Wow." But it is one of those things. The Mayans predict that 2012 is going to end the world, and there's a constellation alignment, and there's something about the radiations. Ah, yes, lift your fat ass for Sasha as they are escaping in the Russian plane full of all the Vegas cars. Yeah, absolutely. Boy, I bet you, Sarah, you heard that one a lot, didn't you? Is that's the name of her ex-husband as well. So I can definitely see where that may have caused some repeat.
And the director of this movie is and I believe 3 of our picks out of the 9. Roland Emmerich is in 3 of them. I didn't realize he did that. How could I guess that he didn't? Because
tell me what else he did when we get to there.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be pretty. It's pretty. It'll be pretty obvious.
Roland Emmerich. At least one of them's on my list,
and the other one's on my list. Another one's on my list.
Yeah. So, and that doesn't surprise me if we're correct here.
There's a theme with his movies, right? It's all about the end of the world, and there's always some sort of, it's just.
I have literally seen the movie, and I don't remember it. Like, I know I have seen it, and I'm like, I've seen this movie. I'm trying to remember what the hell happens in this movie, and I cannot remember. But I'm seeing the trailer, and I'm like, I remember that.
the radiation coming off the sun has done something funky to the core, so it's kind of like Ric Flair's skin, where the crust is just going to start moving on its own, and then so we lose California into the sea. Woo! There's earthquakes.
That's pretty good, dude.
Yellowstone becomes that super volcano. It is absolutely one of those things, and there's floods, and it's one of those, we got to get to the safe spot, and they've built, I don't know, 8 or 10 giant arcs for people and animals, and to build them, they've sold seat to billionaires, and so then it's a question of humanity. Do we because they weren't going to let the workers and anybody that had made it there onto the ark, so people are sneaking on. There's a riot in the bottom. One of the arcs is damaged, so there's a whole ark full of people. So it becomes a question of, do we let these people on and save our humanity, or do we watch them die and keep our provisions safe? Right? And spoiler, they can't do anything to stop this. So we're losing Danny Glover as the president. We're losing one of the key scientists who never got picked up to a tsunami. It's earthquakes, it's fires, it's floods. It is biblical shit, and it is hit and miss special effects. I mean, when they're doing like the pure CGI stuff, they have to do some really good work. When they are merging CGI with live action with the green screen, it's like if you got your special effects on Wish, it's not good. It almost reminds me of
Moonfall.
The scene at the end of Scorpion King, where the N64 version of The Rock is the best they could have put up with, right? Like not all.
You got to get the eyebrow in that though,
and not all the acting holds up. God, I love John Cusack, but some days he's just not right for the fucking part.
He's not right for that part. That was
dude. It's a pretty stacked cast though. Hey,
he's not because he's not a action guy.
I mean, it's stacked in name recognition. I don't know about ability so much, but
they're all good actors. It's just you put like a bunch of actors in a disaster movie, and they all have like little parts in it, except for probably John Cusack because he's the main character, right?
Yeah.
But you have Thande Newton, you have Amanda Peet, Oliver Platt's in it, Woody Harrelson, Danny Glover. I can never pronounce
Woody
his
Harrelson
name.
by far was the biggest highlight of that film.
I don't remember him at all being in that movie.
Saying this is all the conspiracy. This is going to be happening. The government's doing this. He's off in his trailer in the middle of the woods, and he was an absolute highlight. And if you told me he did it completely baked out of his fucking tree, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's move along here. We're 45 minutes into this. Mike, what else you got for us?
Well, I'm going to stick to the Roland Emmerich train because how can you not? This is turning into a Roland Emmerich podcast. But this one, unlike 2012, or which we'll get to Moonfall, I really love this one. I think is his best. The Day After Tomorrow.
Yes.
Want to watch it. We don't need a trailer. It's got the cheese. It's got a young Jake Gyllenhaal, Dennis Quaid. Sort of the premise is super cold Arctic air is coming down, freezing everything, and you got it. It's 2012 with it's different storm this time. It's snow.
It's literally 2012 though. Hey,
it is. It absolutely is. Absolutely. And
actually, I think it's something about the Earth getting knocked off its axis or something like that.
No, I think that the poles are shifting or something like that.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but I think the poles shift, and then the ocean, the Atlantic, the temperature drops like 50 degrees or some baloney, and then in like 5 minutes, and then all the storm comes down and freezes North America and Europe and stuff like that, and all mayhem ensues. And then Dennis Quaid has to travel across the continent in a car when it's minus 10,000, and he somehow survives and gets to New York to save Mr. Young Gyllenhaal. But
so this was one of the ones that when we started talking about this, I'm like, day after, and then we did this differently. We've shared our list. We've chosen different movies, or else we'd be talking about this one probably 3 times.
Probably.
The one line in there, I saw this. It was one of those staff screening nights, so we all sat and watched it.
Oh, you saw it in the theater. That's cool.
My favorite line in that movie is they're stuck in the New York library. And they've got the big fireplace, and they've got to start burning books to stay warm because they're dead. It's coming, and they're arguing over. No, we can't burn Shakespeare. We can't burn this. We can't. And one guy walks in. It's like, guys, there's a whole section of tax law right over here.
Burn it all.
Oh yeah,
burn it all.
Right? Yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
And it's just those fat law tomes of tax law. It's like, oh yeah, that's where you start. Absolutely.
They definitely hit a home run with a poster for the movie though.
It's so good, right?
Yeah, it has the frozen Statue of Liberty, and the snow is like up to her face, and all you see is the torch being lifted up above, covered in snow and ice. It's a powerful image. It immediately lets you know what the movie's going to be about, and you're like, I'm in. It's a disaster movie, and New York is covered, miles of snow. So
I think they could do a parallel story to this, because throughout the movie there's a theme that these guys are stuck in New York.
Yeah.
But then there's also the theme of, all these people are racing south towards the equator. I think there's a parallel story in there about, people that aren't stuck in the cold, but are racing away from it.
Yeah.
And what goes on that.
Yeah.
And that I could sit and watch that movie just as easily.
It's funny though, because there's like a different poster with the Statue of Liberty being underwater as well.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm not sure which posters we got, because it was 2004, I think it was when it came out. But it's just, I guess they just had different posters.
Yeah.
Because in the movie the statue did get covered in water, and then everything,
and then it froze, right?
And it flash froze and snowed in the span of an hour,
a hot minute.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the movie posters. Movies will get several different posters. I mean, I have hundreds downstairs.
That's true.
So you can get the early teaser poster, and then the main trailer poster. Then there's the last minute come see this poster. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, roll a number.
It is. And there's the day after. There's the year. Movie. Okay, so let me share this screen here.
Chronological stuff of his filmography. Disaster.
He did
Independence Day.
Well, he did like over 100.
Okay, so here we got some different posters. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, there you go.
But we have the European version of the Statue of Liberty. We have the water crashing. We have it frozen. We have tornadoes going on.
In Germany
could be fires as well.
Yeah. Big
and
Ben
then
over
clearly
there.
the UK release with a frozen Big Ben. And so they
cool.
Yeah,
but
cool.
he did over 300 episodes of he did 200 episodes of Stargate as a director, or sorry, as a writer. So I guess he was a writer on Stargate and Stargate Atlantis. So
Okay.
according to IMDb, he was on the writing team from 97 to 07 for Stargate S1, and then from 04 to 09 for Stargate Atlantis. So he was like part of the main writing team for that, which is pretty cool. I think.
Awesome.
Did he direct any
All right,
of them?
Seb, what do you got on your list left, buddy?
Okay, so I have a movie that this is the disaster movie I've seen the most. Do we need to do a trailer for it, or do you guys just want?
No, just give it to us.
The Core.
Okay, I have not seen this.
Yeah, it has a pretty stacked cast as well. It stars Aaron Eckhart, Hilary Swank, Stanley Tucci, DJ Qualls is in it, and it is like in line with the last two disaster movies, where literally the core of the Earth stops spinning, and so the Earth is starting to be ravaged with like solar winds because you need it to spin apparently to like help with the ozone in the atmosphere.
For it's like doing a chicken on the barbecue, a rotisserie chicken.
Exactly.
If it stops spinning, one side gets crispied.
Yeah. And so they have this super ultra high tech rocket that converts pressure and heat into like energy and shields, and they take a team of scientists and military people and literally burrow down into the core of the Earth to try to ignite a bunch of nukes to like send it spinning again. But I like it because a lot of disaster movies are on the like they're spent on the Earth, but this one largely spends it with them in the tube craft going into like different pockets of the Earth. So it's like it's super alienish in a sense because you're going through the Earth, and sometimes they come into like pockets of air and they have to like crash in there and stuff like that. So but yeah, I just remember watching it over and over again when I was younger. Back before we had streaming, we had select amount of DVDs, and this is one that was like in my rotation that I would just pop in when I was bored one night, so yeah, it's I don't know if you guys have seen it, but
I have not.
It sounds familiar. I'm not sure if I've seen it.
I mean, Aaron Eckhart was really at a peak when he made that.
Yeah. He was a big name back then.
I think it was after his run as Two-Face in.
No, this is 2003.
It's 2003.
Was it? Okay, so it was before. He had some other stuff going on, but I remember he was becoming a big name, and then that happened. And you know what? It's not an actor's fault if the movie. Sarah's right there with you. I feel like she's got a pencil and a piece of paper going, we gonna make this motherfucker watch some shit down the road. But I mean, he was becoming a big name, and then this hit, and it's just like, ooh, swing and a miss, big guy. And usually it's not the actor's fault. You can see it in the performances where they're like, this is not turning out well. I mean, when you're heavy on special effects, like a lot of these movies are, I mean, the special effects team can really fuck it over. Yeah. And they have to, then they have to go back and they have to re-edit things.
There's some really good story moments in it where you find out why the Earth stopped spinning, and like it deals with conspiracy. And there's obviously in any disaster movie, there's this might be that's Sarah's favorite disaster movies, but
we will, and Alex gonna need the list. We will post the list up on our social media stuff after the show. I will get that done.
There's some really, really great moments. Every disaster movie has self-sacrificing moments where, one of the actors is like, I have to do this to save the world, and they have that moment where they become the hero but die because they're doing something for the greater good. It's got lots of those moments in it as well. Can my cat please get off my keyboard? Seriously. Come on.
You know what? I'd rather he's on your keyboard than has the butt pointing towards the camera, but I can understand your pain.
Dude, just relax. Okay, yeah. So it's a good movie. If you haven't seen it, I mean, it wasn't the most popular movie. I think it only grossed.
Yeah.
Box office was it fell short in the box office. 74 million, and the budget was 85 million. But I'm sure it made it back in rentals.
Yeah, I mean that's 2003. I was working at the place. I did see bits and pieces through. I didn't through the port glass, but I didn't actually take the time to stop and turn the volume up and have a lunch break in front of the projection or go in after hours and watch it. It just it didn't do. You're saying. I definitely remember that it had some hype, and it like a fart in church. Like nobody showed up.
It's good.
That happens.
I recommend it to the world.
Yep. All right. Now moving along here, one I actually do recommend because this is really a highlight on how fucked up our society actually is and how we handle things. I mean, there are a lot of tropes about, the government not wanting to cause panic. And so they're going to do what they had to do. Don't Look Up with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Or actually Look Up.
Yeah.
I watched it last night, that movie.
Yeah. And it's good, right? And it's Jennifer Lawrence, Leonardo DiCaprio. It's got a bunch of other stellar cast members. They discover that there is an asteroid coming for Earth. And nobody really believes
planet killer.
A planet killer. And so it's the struggle of one scientist to make another scientist believe. And they get that. And they're taking it to the government. The government's like, yeah, you know what? We don't really believe you. And it's a struggle there. The government then, goes, okay, we believe you. We've turned around and confirmed this. How do we fix this? And they start doing the right thing. And if you haven't seen this, please go watch it because then a corporation gets involved. And it's like, no, this has some stuff on it we need to mine. So we're gonna try this plan instead. So they're gonna try, just get it into orbit and mine it.
Dude, the actor that played, I guess for lack of better words, the Steve Jobs in the movie, like he's not Steve Jobs, but he plays like a Steve Jobs.
Yeah, he's like an amalgamation of Jobs and Musk, like all those tech billionaires, right?
His character was super unsettling to me. Like I had a very, it wasn't awkward. Like there was an unsettling presence whenever he was on screen. Like this guy was an alien. Like it didn't even seem like he was a human being. Like it was very unsettling to watch him. And that's one of the things I got to highlight about this movie is like a lot of the actors were playing way outside of their norms of what they would normally play. Like Meryl Streep is in it and she plays a different type of person than you're used to. Same with Leonardo DiCaprio. Same with Jennifer Lawrence. They all play different style of what they would normally play in a movie. So, but it is very comedic as well. Like there's so many funny moments in it. It's like a comedy disaster movie is probably the best way.
It really is. And and it all centers around the stupidity of
social media.
It's a satire of the government and social media and the way corporations behave as well, where it's like, oh, we're out for you. The fuck we are. And it's a wonderful bit of satire thrown in there.
It does a really good job of portraying the whole problem with social media these days is like an expert will tell you something and then somebody will read something on a wiki page that some 17-year-old kid put up and they'll believe that instead of the scientist. And you're just like, dude, like I'm a scientist telling you that the world is about to end. I'm like, well, is it though? I don't believe
very much a satire of what we were going through at the time because we were still, masked up and everything. It was, and it wasn't even thinly veiled. It's like, nah, we're just gonna have a bunch of people argue and just go from there. Which it's what happened. It's the whole deal.
It's got a stacked cast. Holy smokes!
Oh yes, it does.
Yeah, it's Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence is in it, Jonah Hill, Meryl Streep, Cate Blanchett, Timothy Chalamet is in it, Tyler Perry's in it. I'm missing probably a bunch of actors still.
Ron Perlman and Ariana
he's
Grande,
great in the movie.
Grande's in there. Yeah, Michael Chiklis has got a part. Yeah, it's
dude. So not to spoil anything, but like Ron Perlman is the hero that is in plan A to kind of go up into the satellite, or into the spaceship to kind of like derail the comet. And he's got an open mic to the world, and some of the things he's saying, oh my God. And then
I haven't seen it. That's worth the price of admission right
dude,
there.
Yeah,
he's saying
really
stuff that's so inappropriate, and they're like, well, he's from a different generation, but like he's like the hero that they've chosen, and he's saying like racial shit and stuff, and you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah, and you know, Sarah is commenting it was way too preachy. And yeah, I can see the issue with that. One of the things that I thought was interesting is the character design for Jennifer Lawrence's character. It's not what you'd sort of come to expect, where she's, you know, the glamorous sort of stunning beauty that she is. It's like, no, we're gonna give her a weird haircut.
Yeah, her hair was very bizarre.
Yeah.
Like they definitely made her look like an introverted student that is uncomfortable in like social scenarios, basically. So
Sarah has an interesting comment here. I'm going to post that. I'm going to keep an eye on this one because it's a good question for the end of the show. And you guys can see it. Yeah, I think that's a good question to end the show on. So
that movie is god awful.
Yeah, we'll get there. But let's. So I mean, Don't Look Up is absolutely worth a view if you haven't seen it. The satire's in there. Yeah, I mean, depending on where you're at in your life, it can get too preachy. But it was one of the things that came along, and it's just, you can tell the frustration in the writers with the way the world was, because it is very much government flip-flopping and you know, corporate conspiracy theories and social media fucking with everybody. However, the last scene with I'm just going to say the last scene, Seb, you know the one I'm talking about, was brilliant.
What was it? It was like, oh, that's the Brontosaurus or whatever.
Yeah. And it was absolutely brilliant. This one is too new, so I am going to try to avoid the spoilers, but absolutely worth a watch. 100%.
It's good. It's a bit on the long side, like 2.5 hours, but I mean, it's not terribly long.
It moves, with the exception of a couple of spots, it moves along fairly well.
Yeah, it's decent. It is a little unsettling though. Like, it is a comedy disaster movie, but there's a lot of like, because when you watch it, the reflection on society, which is very real, kind of leaves, well, it left me with a little unsettling, like, Jesus Christ, like, this is our society and how out of touch they are, and unwillingness to like believe people just because it's easier to just not believe it and believe that it's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I think the thing that really hit home for me is I can see all of that shit actually happening in real life. Much like a Twister, I can very much see how, like, you see it in a lot of disaster movies, especially when they see the problem coming from way out. It's like, well, don't tell anybody. There'll be fucking anarchy in the streets. Yeah, that's absolutely how we would behave. Absolutely is.
Well, we lived through 2 riots just in a hockey team losing in the final. Right? Yeah. Imagine on that level of like the world's going to end, like what would happen with people's psyches, right? So, good movie though.
I live on a decent sized property. I got a good buddy who lives on a decent sized property, and if something were to happen like that, I'm pretty sure we would just, unload his gun safe and we would hunker down on one of them and just be with our favorite people until, shit went down. Anyways, we're cresting an hour here. Mike, what do you got for us, buddy?
I was gonna pull an audible, but I'm not now. So I'm gonna take it back to the same era as Twister. I think it came out maybe a year later, right around Titanic, and that's probably why I didn't do anything in the theater. A movie with
does it involve a volcano?
It might. Absolutely. I mean, James Bond.
So it's one of 2 movies because they came out on top of each other.
I know. So, the Tommy Lee Jones one, I'm not going to talk about because that movie sucks. But Dante's Peak, it's like this hidden treasure of the mid 90s, starring Pierce Brosnan when he is James Bond, like he is on top of the world, and he decides to do this movie.
Yeah, because I think it came out right after GoldenEye and before
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Tomorrow Never Dies, yes.
Yeah. And
I like that
it's
movie.
got Sarah Connor herself, Linda Hamilton, looking as fine as ever in that movie. But the movie's like it's good, and it got shit on. Like the Rotten Tomato score was like 28% or 27%. But it's cool. I don't know. It's gritty. It's not like super. It's not like 20 or a Roland Emmerich movie where it's trying to be flashy and oh, look how much destruction we can put on the screen. It was, one family's sort of fight to get away to sort of not even get away from it, just sort of just survive. And the scene with grandma on the boat halfway through the movie, that's one badass grandma, man. Like she's like talking like self-sacrifice, right? Because we have one, like Seb said, one always has to sacrifice.
There's always a self-sacrificing moment in disaster.
And grandma did it, man. But I don't know. Because like you say, Volcano came out like a month later or whatever with Tommy Lee Jones, and that was more of the look at our special effects, look what we can do. We got lava in the streets of LA, blah blah blah. And it was just like, no,
so the Volcano takes place in LA, and Dante's Peak is on an island, I believe, right?
No, it's in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, it's
okay. Isn't there one? Oh, I'm thinking of the wrong movie. There's got to be.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, there's Joe versus the Volcano, but that's not quite a disaster movie.
That's a good movie.
Disaster of a movie.
That's a great movie.
But
it is a disaster.
And I think that the thing that really separates Volcano and Dante's Peak as well, and Tommy Lee Jones was riding a huge high back then too. That's really when his career, he broke out entirely. He had just done Fugitive. It really put him where he belongs as an actor finally. Dante's Peak was an existing dormant volcano. LA was San Andreas is now throwing up a volcano on us.
Yes.
And with Dante's Peak, there's more of that plausibility. You could very much easily substitute it for Mount St. Helens, which is just south of us.
Do you know what the tagline for Volcano is?
No.
The coast is toast.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I'm so in. Maybe I'll change my pick. That is so good. God. So yeah, so Volcano came out Volcano came out in 1999.
Oh, so it was 2 years after.
Oh,
that can't be right. I thought they came out at the same time.
I thought they came out on top of each other.
No, that's what this is saying.
97. It is 97. On IMDb, it says Volcano 97. So I don't know.
Whatever. I don't know.
It says 97 on IMDb.
Okay. Well, I believe
you. Yeah, you're right. It does say it here. And then someone looking at it, 1997. What the hell?
Maybe anyways, a re-release or something. I don't know.
Maybe they re-released it.
The director's cut.
But yeah, what a pile of garbage that is. Ugh.
I remember, like the one scene I remember. I don't remember. I have seen Dante's Peak. I know that, and there's the smoke scene where like all the smoke's coming down. But the only scene I can vividly remember is the one where I think the kid is about to jump into like the hot spring, and then Pierce Brosnan like grabs him. He's like, no, and he sees like the water is boiling.
Yeah, I mean
that
goes
was like
back
the first
to what we were
tip
saying
off.
About Carl Weathers earlier. You throw that kid in there, you got a stew going.
Nice.
Dante's Peak was good.
It was good. I like it. Yeah, it was unfairly criticized, but I think I don't know. Even my kids liked it. They thought that was they got a couple of new age children to enjoy a movie from the 90s is sometimes harder than.
So
yeah, it really can be.
So the director Roger Donaldson directed a movie 2 years before that, Species. Remember that movie?
Yes.
Which one?
Yes, I do.
Species.
Oh, Species. Yeah, with oh God, what's her name? Natasha Henstridge.
Yes.
Man, I can't remember what my wife tells me 5 minutes ago, and then I can pull that name out of a hat. That is just
out of the blue, just boom.
I have a theory.
Well, I might have one too, but anyways. That's too funny. Yeah. So Matt, let's talk about the crown jewel of this episode.
Okay, so we're missing Seb's third one, but
we are. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll do it real quick then.
Yeah,
because it's one of my. I remember seeing the movie and it was pretty brutal. But it takes disaster movies and puts it in a smaller scale. So like we talked about global killers, but the one I'm talking about is The Perfect Storm. It is such a fantastic movie. what a stacked cast. You had George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, Diane Lane, John C. Reilly's in it as well. Karen Allen is in it. But yeah, it's about a fishing boat that goes off the coast of Newfoundland to hunt swordfish, I believe, and they had a pretty bad haul. Unsuccessful really for what their quota was, so they decide to go back out again, and they get trapped between two hurricanes that kind of collide. And everybody has seen the movie, remembers that the poster itself is that infamous image of like the boat going vertical up a wave. You know, it's like there's a small crew out in the middle of a hurricane, well over trying to survive basically, but like it's a good movie. It's definitely you know, there you go.
There you go. For those of you watching, I just pulled up the deal there. It's I remember seeing that poster. I remember I mean, this was in the era. I was where I was. So I wasn't expecting much out of this movie. I mean, like you said, good cast, and you know the chameleon William Fichtner as well is in that.
Yeah, that's true.
And awesome. That was the movie where I realized that boy does have a gym membership somewhere. Because I mean, and William Fichtner is one of those guys we can talk about down the road when we start talking about actors that have been in everything, but you probably don't know their name. But it was like an okay thing. It was like, all right, cool, Perfect Storm's in the staff screening tonight. I'm gonna go hang out.
Let's check it out. Yeah, and it was good.
Yeah, we're just gonna go check it out. We're gonna have a couple beers, and if it sucks, then we're gonna turn it into Mystery Science Theater 2000, which is exactly what we did with a lot of bad movies. And it seemed like the plot doesn't seem that great, but they do such a good job with the character development.
Like they put the characters in this impossible situation, and they have a bunch of great actors that are literally trying to save their lives, and it's just one disaster after another, you know, and they're stuck. They're just stuck, and it's just like, please make it out of this. So I won't spoil the ending.
And it's actually it's based on a book too.
It's based on real events.
It's it loosely. I think it's loosely based on real events.
Well, everything when they say based on, it's like
right. It's something happened with a boat in the water, and then that's as close as we're gonna get.
Story.
Exactly, and there was. I'm thinking specifically of the William Fichtner's final scene in the movie, where he's doing an incredible job getting the proper emotion across. You are hoping they get out somehow. It's like, oh, and then they washed ashore in the life raft, or you know, this guy, you know, it's just one of those things. And that poster is one of the last shots in the movie. And just the way I mean, if you pull up the IMDb, the still frame of the trailer is Mark Wahlberg and George Clooney, and that was the shot as they're doing that thing in the boat, and they're just like,
they're going for it.
Come on, gotta go for it. They're go.
Directed by Wolfgang Peterson. He did some great movies: Troy, Perfect Storm, Air Force One. He did Outbreak, which was a phenomenal movie.
Outbreak was an alternate. I struggled with that one. I struggled with leaving out doing Outbreak.
He also did The Neverending Story.
Sure did.
Wolfgang Peterson. Das Boot, that movie with there was also miniseries. So he's a pretty good director.
He's got some good stuff going on.
And I wouldn't call Air Force One a great movie. I'm sorry. It's awful.
What?
Get off my plane. It's so stupid.
Get off my plane.
It's so bad.
Dude, Harrison Ford, man.
Yeah, it's
Perfect Storm.
Man.
It's a low-key disaster movie because it's very personal, but I mean, it is literally they're in like an impossible disaster. Like,
well, that's the beauty of it, though.
But disaster movies don't have to be global killers. They can be more smaller scale.
Absolutely. I mean, there's you know, it's small scale, it's medium scale, and it's global killer. I seem to have taken global killer in all three of mine, but I mean, like the Titanic is not a large scale one either. I mean, it's a lot of people, but in the grand scheme of things, Not so much.
Not so much, right?
Which sounds, and Twister as well. Twister is one of those ones. It could have been like the entire city gets wiped out sort of thing, but they shrunk it down. So yeah, there is a lot of extra devastation, but the view you get through the camera is just this small group. Whereas My List and Day After Tomorrow is you're looking at the whole thing. You're getting shots from around the world. Dante's Peak localized as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the core is small set pieces, but it's a global story.
You guys remember it was along the same lines as the core. It was called Deep Impact.
Yeah,
that was like Armageddon.
Yeah, it was like came out right when Armageddon did. Yeah, it just came to my mind.
That was the poor man's Armageddon.
It really was.
Absolutely.
Because
Hollywood has this thing where they get wind of one thing going on, and so another one's coming right after it.
Yeah,
right.
You got to imagine that somebody gets wind of like a high concept movie, and someone at another studio goes, "Hey, I heard that they're making a movie with an asteroid hitting the Earth. Let's make our own movie." And they just get a bunch of writers.
And sometimes it's just that there's multiple writers on a film, so one gets fired. You're like, "Fuck you! I'm going to go make another one with the studio over here." Right? Yes, so I'm going to go make my. It's very much like that meme that popped up for that terrible sci-fi thing we discussed a couple of weeks ago on Netflix, where it's fuck you, I'm gonna go make my own Star Wars with strippers and cocaine.
Dude, I'm gonna watch that in like a week or two. Rebel Moon.
Rebel Moon, that's the one. I'm slowly blocking that from my mind. I've actually recommended to somebody they don't watch it.
Mike, we should watch it.
I don't know.
In the same week.
Well, if I'm gonna watch Indiana Jones, I'm gonna have to watch Rebel Moon.
Yeah, well,
I'll guarantee you're probably gonna like Indiana Jones better than Rebel Moon.
Oh, I can tell you already. That's an absolute truth.
I'm probably gonna give it a second chance when they bring out the version that's
the director's cut.
Which is one of my big problems with it.
Why does Zack Snyder have to do this now? Just
here's the big problem with Rebel Moon that I've come to understood from like TikTokers is like most of them say there's a director's cut and the film that they released feels like it's unfinished, like it feels like it's missing things, and so they're like, why wouldn't they just wait and just release the director's cut in general? So it's the same sense with Zack Snyder. Well, that's his thing with Zack Snyder, always like releases these movies, but he's like, this is not the finished version.
Well, I mean, there's the thing where the studio has a say, and when it doesn't work out, then you get director's cuts. Kevin Smith has gone on record as, people are like, oh, you must have a director's cut of Mallrats or Dogma. He's like, fuck no, I'm vicious with my films. I cut out all sorts of shit. And when you watch his outtakes, I have yet to watch a Kevin Smith outtake and gone, that should have been in the movie. He's like, he's vicious with it.
He's pretty good at knowing
I think
what to take
more
out.
Directors were like that, take their ego out of it. There's something to be said for fighting for your vision, but sometimes it's just a bad fucking idea. You've just wasted a bunch of our time by putting in 6 minutes of stuff that just should have stayed on the floor. Right?
I think he was just
okay. So let's get into it.
Okay.
This one is got a hell of a cast. We're talking John Bradley, who you would know from Game of Thrones. Michael Pena, who you know from all sorts of stuff. He's one of these guys that's in everything. Most notably,
he's Ant-Man's best friend, right?
Ant-Man's best friend. Patrick Wilson, Halle Berry, Moonfall.
So
this was
first thing
was a whole thing.
Donald Sutherland's in it as well.
Yeah, he was actually pretty good in it. I like Sutherland. He just played himself, but I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah.
My first thing that I noticed, besides the really shitty green screen stuff, and 99% of the movie, was the guy. I guess it'd be Patrick Wilson, the guy who played the main dude. We were trying to figure out who he looked like. He looked like an amalgamation of Will Arnett and Chris Pratt in one guy.
Totally.
They're trying to find. Oh, can't
he's like
unsee that
poor man's
now.
Chris Pratt, right? And you're like, ugh. And he's not. And of course, the dialogue wasn't good, and none of them were good. But
yeah,
the fucking green screen was just egregiously bad. Like that scene when he's riding his motorcycle up to the conservatory in LA to go give his speech. It's like not even the same time of day on the green screen. It's like nighttime, but it's like the morning, and he pulls up and it's like so fake, and it's like this because it was made by Tencent. I don't want to shit on it too much because I don't know, it might just bad things could happen because they're big and I'm good. So, but it looked like a video game, a bad like cut scenes in a game. That's what I was talking with Junior. We were watching it, and he's like, "Dad, this looks like a really bad video game." Like, yeah, and until I will give it props when they got into the moon.
Okay, yeah. See, that's the twist at the end. So it's
I liked it.
It was one of those things where it's like this, and it's sort of teased.
Oh, it's teased.
It's not even teased. It's flat out said.
It said
right,
yeah.
and it's just
the moon is a megastructure, and it's like,
you're
what?
Fucking idiot! Like it is such a bizarre conspiracy theory, and it is destroying the world. And they do have it is like a cutscene, but they do have some pretty cool things of devastation. Like when they're taken off in the shuttle, and then the people left behind. It's like, well, we're fucked.
With the ground.
Yeah, they get to the moon. Yeah, they get to the moon, and it's like, oh fuck, this is actually an alien megastructure under all the. It is Shyamalan like in its plot twist, and the way I mean that is, it seems so far fetched that you're like, nah, it's something different. It's gonna be like, oh, I fuck, no, it's not. They fucking literally they do it.
Yeah,
what's funny is that like. When we were talking about the movie lists, in Texas to each other, Moonfall, I'm like, oh, I haven't seen that. And then I watched the trailer. I'm like, I've seen this. I don't even remember. I don't even remember watching it.
We've already seen it.
No, but I'm watching. I'm like, oh, I did see this. Yeah. And then I started to think about the movie. I'm like, is this the one with like the alien? Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. This was on how to get. Wasn't this on how to get this?
Oh made? Yes, it was.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
There is an episode of how this get made on that.
Oh, that's a good.
No
question.
affiliation. It's just a favorite podcast of Seb and I. Mike, I believe you've heard a few episodes as well.
I've heard it. I've heard a few. I've yet to listen to a lot of it, but
but
when they went into the moon, I'm like, okay, now I'm kind of, because I like that it was that sort of that 2001-y kind of vibe to it, right? Especially when Halle Berry and I'm just going to call him Sam because he's Sam Tarly from Game of Thrones, trying to do the worst American accent ever because he can't hide his accent and whatever.
Yeah.
But when they're in that triangular hallway with the lights, I'm like, okay, this is kind of getting into some like high-end sci-fi. I'm like, this is like now there's potential, but then they kept cutting back to the moon, fucking hitting the planet. It's like, can we just do one thing? Like if it just focused on the three of them in space longer, and who cares about the family on the ground? Like no one cares. Like the kid got crushed by a tree, and then the gravity lifts it up, and he's fine. Okay, like whatever.
So,
that was like.
I don't remember much of the movie, and I know Mike, you just saw it.
I watched it. Yeah, we watched it last night.
Do they reference the aliens at all in the beginning parts of the movie?
Yeah. Not at the beginning. No, when they
it's just at the end, right? It's such a, for me, it seemed like such a swerve that it's just like, really? Like, really?
Like not Chris Pratt was like
it was Stephen King level swerve.
It was very much so, but they sort of went into his mind, and then it turned into they made a construct. It was like all Matrixy, and I'm like, okay, what? Now we're in like 50 different movies in the last 5 minutes of what's going on. It's just like, okay, let's throw the Matrix at it. Let's throw 2001 at it. Let's throw Star Wars at it. Let's do all this. It's like, what? And then ancient civilizations from billions of years ago, you're like, fucking hell. It's like,
and that's the reason I had this on the list, is because of that twist where all of a sudden it's a very different movie.
It is a totally different movie. Yeah.
John Bradley, Samwell, he's a crackpot through most.
He's actually he's actually good in the movie.
He's the best part of the movie. Yeah. He really is.
He's got his research and he's got his numbers, but the theory is so out there. Yep. He's not convincing anybody of anything.
No.
Yeah.
Until it's like, okay, well,
they could have been more build to the movie. Like it was so fast to have 5 minutes. Oh God, the moon's on orbit. Oh no, we're screwed. And then you're like, then they're like in that hotel giving the speech, and then they're just like in bed sleeping. How could you sleep? The world's ending. Like, what are you going to bed for?
I wouldn't be able to sleep.
No. And they're just, sorry, I just woke up. Let me put my pants back on and go. It's like, what the hell?
You want to crank one out while we're waiting too? I mean,
that would be my question.
Right?
I'm like, hey, who's available?
Finish your
Let's
morning
go.
routine. Get your face mask and your moisturizer done. She's like, come on, son.
Yeah, I know.
Come on.
Just, I don't know, but that's the problem with a lot of those Roland Emmerich movies. There's always two movies in one. Like there's the disaster, and then there's this subplot of why the disaster is happening.
Yeah,
but this one was like, hey, I got a good idea. Let's have some nanobots from 4 billion years ago. Have this like space goo out in space, and it's just like, what? It's like, no, it's like
the explanation is very tropey. I mean, especially when you're talking about nanobots or nanites, or it's like the microscopic robots are doing it all, and that is
AI came to life. Oh, here we go. Now we're going Terminator style. It's like, oh, okay,
it's a huge fallback for most of Hollywood. Is like, fuck, how do we do this? Nanites did it. Like, fuck off. I mean, it's a lot like looking at the 80s action movie genre. It's like, okay, who's the bad guys? Terrorists did it.
The Russians are bad. That's them. That's who it is.
Yeah. Isn't it all disaster movies? So be nice to your family or the earth. Get back with your ex. There's always a trope, and it's true. It is true. Sarah is 100% right. There's always that. Oh yeah, I'm in this middle of disaster, but here's my ex-wife. We might still have feelings for her.
Like, I was kind of half hoping that they were going to launch the nukes and then the Earth would blow up. I'm like, this is the perfect way. This is the one movie where you could do that and kill everybody. I'm like, this is what needs to happen. Yeah, it's over. Like, let's just do it. The moon, like at one scene, the moon is like 50 feet above the Earth's surface. And it's just not even, it's just nothing. It's just, okay, there's some waves.
Yeah, you can get there with an extension ladder, right?
Right? And then all of a sudden, they're like, they land. I'm like, oh my God. But just blow it up. I don't know. It would have been cool if they blew it up. They need a movie where just, okay, we're trying to do the right thing, and then it backfires horribly, and everybody dies, and then it's over.
I mean,
and that's the movie. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Pretty much all three of my films, like nothing gets stopped. Nothing gets stopped.
No.
There's absolute devastation and chaos. I mean, a Moonfall. You know what, Sarah? We're gonna sit down and watch this. It's bad enough that it's actually good. Yeah. It's one of those ones that's.
It's a good watch.
It's like the joke from Family Guy with the kick in the knee. It's like irritating and it's stupid, and then it just sort of rolls past that back to funny again. Yeah, so this is one of those ones that's worth a watch just because it is bad enough that it comes back around to good.
You face palm enough times where you're like, okay, I'm buying in. Like the 50th face palm, you're like, okay, you know what? I'm buying in now because this is just awful. No, you guys have to watch it.
So I'm doing some deep dives here, and so Roland Emmerich did Stargate.
Yes, he did.
Yep. So he wrote and directed Stargate, which is a phenomenal movie. He also was involved in like
on TV shows,
like 2 TV shows. Yeah. Did you know that there's a new Stargate movie that he's involved with that's in pre-production?
Oh wow!
I don't know
this, but I wasn't aware of he was being involved in it.
It says upcoming director pre-production, so but it's on IMDb, so you don't know if the project's been greenlit yet or not. Yep. But so interesting. So I think, and he also did Independence Day, so arguably take it how you like it, but that's probably his 2 best movies he's done is Independence Day and Stargate. If you can even call Independence Day a great movie.
I mean, I don't think you can.
Have you guys
98 Godzilla?
Have you seen the sequel to Independence Day? The Resurgence?
I think I tried, and I'm like,
God, it's bad.
This is the first one. I'm like, I can't do it. I just can't do it.
It's so bad.
Yeah, and then one that I've never gotten through that I was excited to see. I was at a point where I wasn't able to join the staff screenings. 10,000 BC. I've never gotten past the first 15 minutes, and I've tried repeatedly.
Yeah, they have a 5.1 rating. 10,000 BC and Moonfall.
Yeah.
10,000 BC is a remake, right?
Probably.
Because I think that was like a Jane Fonda movie. Jane Fonda, Raquel Welch.
Raquel Welch, yeah, something like 60s.
That. Yeah, something like that.
If it wasn't, it's probably inspired by, because I mean, let's be honest here, that Raquel Welch poster is iconic to the point where it's a plot point in Shawshank Redemption.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Good movie.
Yeah, disaster movies.
Yeah. All right. So we're almost at our 90-minute here, which is about good. So
it is about
let's go back up the commentary list here and find a question from loyal viewer Sarah. For those that haven't seen it, do you guys have a vote for worst disaster movie? Any answer that isn't San Andreas is wrong.
Boy, oh boy.
Well, San Andreas is
what's the worst
bad.
disaster movie, and why is it San Andreas? Yeah, go ahead, Mike. You had a thing there.
I don't know. I watched it once, and I'm not the biggest Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne Johnson's now, right?
Yep, it's The Rock. Yep,
it's The Rock. And what's her name from True Detective? I can't remember her name. Yes, attractive lady. But
I saw that comment and I was trying to look like to see what I could come up with, and something just popped out, which I remember watching a while ago.
Yeah,
which is such a stupid premise that it is kind of a disaster movie, but it's also a heist movie. Hurricane Heist.
Okay.
There's bank robbers.
The hell is
that kind of plan to like rob I think it's like a gold depository in the middle of a hurricane and drive out in the eye of the storm. It's so US Mint. Yeah, the US Mint. And they decided to go in a category 5 hurricane. Oh my goodness. It's just so, like
that's the one where they're stealing the bills that are set to be destroyed, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The US Mint.
Yeah, the government destroys old bills, and so their plan is they're going to get in there, get this pallets
$1 trillion or whatever it is
bills that are set for the shredder, and take that. Which, you know what? As a concept, not a bad plan.
Dude, come on! Your plan is to drive out in the middle of a store.
Well, hey, I'm just saying, not a bad plan, because who would expect it? It's just I don't know about the execution, guys. So it's
see, I've never seen San Andreas.
You're thinking of?
Oh, you're not missing anything.
So I can't say that it's a bad movie because I haven't seen it.
Well, that Hurricane Heist, I counted the producers. There were 29. That's too many.
I think that one was on How to Get This Made as well, though.
A couple of too many hands in the cookie jar. I'm thinking Matt Damon was one of them, actually.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to think of another one that was as awful as San Andreas.
I mean, Volcano was
Moonfall is up there. And
but Moonfall is so bad it's good.
Yeah.
But the thing about San Andreas is, unlike Moonfall, it doesn't come back around to be more fun.
No.
It just gets a little more far-fetched. I mean, Dwayne was on a really good streak for a while in San Andreas, and that terrible one that was like Die Hard just really derailed him.
Was that Rampage? Was that no?
No, Rampage wasn't good either. No,
that's a disaster movie, isn't it? I've never
watched it. Based on the video game.
Rampage.
Based on the video game, right?
It's I guess it's a monster movie. Is San Andreas the one where he jumps from like a skyscraper to another skyscraper?
No, that's the other one whose name is currently.
Wait, that's Skyscraper, isn't it?
That's Skyscraper. Yeah. That's the one. Okay, that was the one I was thinking of.
One. Yeah,
and he does it now
to save his family.
For throwing out something in there because he plays an amputee in the movie. However, he's doing that jump with one leg and a prosthetic.
That's
right. I remember that.
Maybe
his wife is on the other side or something. I can't remember.
Morpheus just told him to jump. You'll get it eventually. You'll get there. Just do it.
So, that's not the button I wanted. My bad.
That's not it.
Dwayne Jansen.
He's done a lot of bad movies.
So, that's Skyscraper, and it was just such a diehard thing. You know what? And I think about this movie every year. And I'm gonna throw the remake up there. It's gonna be below San Andreas as far as the top bad disaster movies ever. I think Sarah had a really good point, and I'm not just sucking up, but the Poseidon Adventure remake.
I never saw it.
You don't. It was one of those movies I had to build in IMAX, so I had to sit there and watch it. I saw the original, which was much better years and years ago. Like I went on a kick in the mid 90s of seeing all these classic films that, you know, like The Deer Hunter, like Raging Bull, you know, those classic movies that have stood out, Taxi Driver, all that stuff. And Poseidon Adventure was in there. The remake was not good. And I think about it every Poseidon, year when I'm standing on a cruise ship going, okay, so which one of these motherfuckers am I walking over to get out of here if the boat flips upside down? And which one of these people am I going to, you know, take the sacrifice for? Very few. But yeah, the remake and the Poseidon Adventure just did not work.
Oh, I got a good one.
Yep, go.
I got a good one. And I don't know if you consider it a disaster movie, but it's a bit of a stretch.
It's a disaster.
The Happening.
Ooh,
well, that's just a disaster.
Never saw it. Did not.
Dude, it's like God. It's that's arguably tough. M. Night's worst movie he's ever done.
Yeah, it's rough.
Is it a disaster movie?
No,
because it's a global disaster.
It's like it's definitely disaster adjacent at the least. Because I mean, we think so disaster movies, we think chaos and destruction a lot of times.
Yeah, but this is like on a micro level, fire, right?
Flood. Yeah,
suicidal wind. It's like, okay,
dude, how come he's only done 2 good movies? It's like he put all his eggs in his basket. Yeah, he's done like, well,
he's done a few more. He's got a better batting average than Nick Cage, but yeah, I feel you.
Hey,
come on,
no,
come on now.
It's sheer volume, no, because Nick Cage does 50 movies a year, so he's got a couple good ones every year.
But like, so many of these, like,
come on, man, Con Air, Con Air's classic.
He's known for some of the best twists.
Another great John Cusack movie.
Oh my God.
Oh, to quote Chris Rock in Dogma, Con Air, con shit.
Yep, Con Air was off. Man,
it was bad enough, and then they dropped that classic vet off the plane. And I'm like, you sons of bitches.
And it does not hold up. It's so bad. John Malkovich is god awful in that movie. It's like, what are you doing? What a waste of talent.
Like M. Night did Knock at the Cabin, terrible.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. I saw that.
Someone mute me about Nick Cage. I don't think they can mute me because I have the dashboard.
He's got the dashboard.
Son of a bitch.
I can tune him out though. I'm good at that.
I mean,
yeah, no, my wife is holding classes on that for anybody that's interested in signing up. It's a charity thing because it's just detrimental to everybody's mental health to put up with me.
He did like Sixth Sense, an amazing movie. Unbreakable, amazing movie. Signs, really good movie. Village, really good movie. Then he did The Last Airbender.
Village, really good.
I liked it. I liked it. It was good. It wasn't terrible. But then he did like The Happening, The Last Airbender, After Earth, which were horrible movies. Lady in the Water. Come on, man.
That wasn't good.
He had terrible.
He broke his streak with James McAvoy one. That was like the third of
Split.
You know,
that was really good. And then the twist in that one was I
haven't seen it.
It's the third.
I don't even care. I'm never gonna watch it, so it doesn't matter.
It's not the third. It's the second. Mike, there's one afterwards.
Watch.
Is it?
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay. Yeah, it's the second of 3.
That's all I need to say.
Yeah, second of 3. So a couple of classics as I'm looking here that we didn't get to. The Towering Inferno. That is a classic high-rise on fire disaster movie. I haven't seen that one in forever. Interesting. Gravity is on the list of disaster movies in Google. Very small. I mean, it's definitely tragic. I don't know about disaster because it's really there's only 2 victims.
Right.
Yeah.
However,
people in the whole movie.
Yeah, something like that. However, that is a terrifying concept.
Dude, yeah, and then even put The Mist on there.
Yep, The Mist.
That was a phenomenal movie.
And you know,
it's a horror movie.
The ultimate comedy disaster movie of Airplane.
Yeah.
Is that as well. And then, you know, you got some other things in there. This has got a deep well. We may have to pick a couple disaster movies and sit down and have a long breakdown discussion on one or maybe 2 of these things. there's a lot of meat on the bone for this, and what? It's
there's an honorable mention here
meat or undercooked meat.
There's one honorable mention I want to throw in that I completely forgot about, which may fit 12 Monkeys.
Oh yeah.
It's literally about the end of the world.
But that one's good though, unlike most of the ones we talked about.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, is that a disaster movie, or would that consider like a more of a thriller horror movie aspect? I don't know. But anyways.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the end of the world in there. Mike, you got any honorable mentions? Because I just also saw a poster for one last one I want to mention, but take her away.
We watched a while ago. Traumatized my children with it. Was Greenland with Gerard Butler.
Yep, I've seen that one.
That kind of like it took a turn, and we're like, "Oh shit, can't unsee this." So when the kids got like abducted, you're like, "Oh fuck!" But I actually enjoyed it. Greenland was pretty good.
He's also in another great disaster movie called Geostorm.
Geostorm.
Yeah,
viewers or listeners to How Did This Get Made will get that. All right.
Yeah.
Last but not least, a solid small key disaster movie that was actually a real life massive fucking problem. Deepwater Horizon, and that's the one that is based on the oil rig that basically destroyed the Gulf of Mexico a few years back.
Right.
Mark Wahlberg and exactly what happened, and well, probably not exactly.
Oh, come on, it's faithful.
How it? Yeah. Total documentary.
Absolutely.
Total documentary.
Yes.
So yeah. At this point, boys, any final thoughts as we're wrapping her up?
Nope.
No thoughts.
I think
disaster movies are awesome, and if they're bad, they're so good.
There's definitely a formula in them. You know, as we said before, there's the self-sacrifice moment in every disaster movie where somebody sacrifices for the betterment of the world or their party of people that they're with. So some good, some bad, but mostly bad.
They're tough to pull off. They're tough to pull off.
There's not a good track record for really good disaster movies. Like most of them are not even close to being decently good.
Well, because if you want it to be really good, you got to mix the effects with actual story, and most of them can't do either very well. So it's
Moonfall. Watch it.
Agreed. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for sticking with us. As normal, we kind of overran our mouths,
we
hope you had a good time. Thank you everybody for jumping in the commentary. We really enjoy the interaction as well. Check this out on all your streaming platforms down the road. Take us with you on Apple and Spotify, and we will be back next week with a topic that we will announce because I forgot what was on the calendar.
Nice.
Want me to tell you right now?
Yeah.
Hang on. Worst sequels. We're sticking with the movies.
Sequel. Yes, we were discussing about this. So we're gonna come back and talk terrible fucking sequels.
Terrible sequels. And I watched one last week. I was just like, I used to like it, and I'm like, holy shit, am I wrong? Yep.
So we had a chat about that. So we'll be coming back next week with terrible sequels. So if you got one, throw it down in your notepad, put it in your phone. Come join us at 9:00 next Saturday, and we will be back. Good afternoon.
Peace and love.
Bye.